Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by
me, Rob. I join you on a wonderful Monday night.
Is it a wonderful Monday night?
I definitely had a case of the Mondays, but I also got a free Italian sandwich in New York City today, so gabagoo.
Gabagoo. You know what I just realized I found out about yesterday? Apparently there is a New Jersey Sloppy Joe. I had never heard of this before. New Jersey Sloppy.
Or are you talking like an Italian Sloppy Joe? Or are you talking like where it's like...
Yeah, that's apparently what it is. It's like some kind of like random like lunch meats and all.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this thing before.
I never heard of this in New Jersey. I think it's like an Italian Sloppy Joe.
So here's what it says. It says, I'm gonna look it up here, find it real quick for you guys. Yeah, it's like a Reuben sandwich, apparently.
Yeah.
No, that's not a Sloppy Joe.
Apparently it was a Sloppy Joe before Sloppy Joes were Sloppy Joes.
Yeah, no, it's not. That's not a Sloppy Joe. We're not gonna call it a Sloppy Joe.
It's a Italian Sloppy Joe.
Anybody who's in the area that makes them, I assume this has got to be one particular area of Jersey, because Rob and I both grew up in Central Jersey. They didn't have that in Central Jersey. I can tell you that.
Listen, I picked one up 2 months ago from Joe Leone's over in Point Pleasant.
Lavody's is good.
Lavody's is a place I would probably have an Italian Sloppy Joe.
I've never heard of them before. But anyway, guys, besides sandwiches, we have a whole bunch more to talk about here. We got to talk a lot about latest in Giants news here, as camp we're on the verge of it starting up here, guys. This is going to be our last pre-camp episode, so we'll have some news here for you, everything going on in camp here on the next episode. By the way, heads up, guys, next episode is going to be episode 500 for us, guys.
Big old 500.
100. Yeah, that's a big one there. You know, a lot of people don't even make it to 100, so I'll be very happy and proud of us to reach that 500 mark there. Now, on top of that, we're working on getting you guys, because August, I think 9th it is our 3rd anniversary at the start of the show as well, on top of that. So what we're going to do is, between now and then, we're going to have a lot of guests on. We've been talking to a lot of people. Tomorrow, we are set to have Bobby Skinner on. And I think, obviously, people that are fans of us typically are fans of him as well. Does excellent work, obviously. So very excited and very happy to have him on the show there. But like I said, we'll be telling you guys bit by bit who we have coming on. But like I said, we do plan on trying to have a decent amount of guests here these next couple of weeks as we celebrate our 500th episode on Wednesday and our 3-year anniversary. We call it a podiversary. Podiversary. Yeah, coming up in the beginning of next month there. So like I said, definitely looking to get that stuff going. So definitely pencil that in for tomorrow, or ink it in. Use ink, because like I said, always a good time to have Bobby on the show there. Jedi Falcon says, you guys go into training camp. Now, I am not going to, because I live in Florida. So I unfortunately I cannot. I wish I could. But the whole pesky having to work for a living thing, besides doing I know, Rob, it's usually your problem as well, as having to that pesky work for a living, even though you are in Jersey.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe I'll take the work car and see if I can go to East Rutherford for a little bit.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice, right? Like, where
usually
you
I don't go that far off the turnpike.
Yeah, it's like, where are you going? Well, I'm selling some vacuum cleaners over at MetLife Stadium there. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like the Oric vacuum guy back in the day. All right, guys, let's get into the Giants news here. So very first thing we have to talk about is a very interesting interview with Lane Kiffin talking about Jaxson Dart. And, it's one guy you haven't heard a lot of sound bites on necessarily since the draft itself. Obviously, leading up to the draft, he had a lot of nice things to say about him. But I always find the post-draft interviews more interesting, because you got to be a little more guarded pre-draft. You don't want to be the guy that hurts your guy's draft stock. But worry about it as much afterwards. You just kind of say it like it is to a certain degree. So anyway, Lane Kiffin obviously again was the college football coach there, Ole Miss for Jaxson Dart. Said he was the complete package and a quick learner. He says if he's struggling with something, he's going to find a way. He's going to stay after. He's going to do whatever it takes. He talked about his processing. He said, I think for some that can be too much information because we're chunking him a lot of information, and most our plays are snapped 15 seconds on the play clock. So he's getting a lot of information right up to the snap. He was great with that. And then he's also asked about as far as the taking the hits, because he's been known to take a little way too many hits there on his quarterback runs. He said we worked with him a lot on that. That takes some time to get out of him. It'll show up once in a while, but he'll learn to play smarter. Most times throughout the week, he's very calm.
Yeah.
Interesting. I thought the biggest thing for me was the processing part, because that's the biggest concern I have with Jaxson Dart. I think he's got the physical tools. I think that's without question. He has an arm. He has two arms, in fact, but he has a throw.
Say you got two.
He's good, obviously, on the run. But the mental processing is the thing that we never know going into it sometimes, because in the college game, sometimes it's simplified so much for these guys that you just don't know. And for him to sit there and give him, kudos to that specifically, I thought that was kind of interesting. Again, it's post-draft, but you still kind of take it with a grain of salt because it's the head coach of the kid that you just drafted. So, who knows how much of it is him legit thinking that and how much is him just trying to say nice things about a guy who gave his all for him,
Yeah. One of his dudes, if you will, his alumni.
Yeah. Like, I get it. Like, it's kind of hard to talk trash about somebody who, worked under you like that there. But, it's definitely interesting, like I said, that he brought that part specifically into the processing and talking about, because that also you can look at as a kind of a mixed bag as well, because let's be honest, that's not going to happen when it comes to Jaxson Dart with the Giants. He's not going to be snapping the ball 15 seconds left. That's not an option. Like, he's going to be sitting there with like 3 seconds left probably on that play clock and be given the time to actually sit there and analyze and look at this defense before he takes that pass. So, it's going to be a different game. But that you could also say is part of the learning curve we talked about. And we've talked many times about how Jaxson Dart is going to need some help here to learn a pro style offense. It's a little different than what he did in Ole Miss there. And right there is prime example. You don't ever see somebody in the NFL taking, the snap with 15 seconds left, unless it is to do like a weird play to try to get people off their toes.
Yeah.
And that's a rarity in itself. You want that time to read the defenses. That's more important usually to the quarterback than anything else, for them to know what's going on.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you got to know, like, you got to analyze, see like how they're trying to, try to figure out if they're trying to, zone you, try to, they do a blitz. Like, yeah, there's going to be a lot to that. You're going to see a lot more blitzes. Like, it's a different ballgame.
Oh, yes. Jay, what's up, man? It says, what would have to happen with Dart for us to use a first-round pick on a quarterback in 2026? I don't think it's as much on Dart as it is on the team. Like, it's kind of like, and I don't want to use this analogy for results and what we think of the players, but like, think of it like, go back to like Josh Rosen, what happened with him when he was, picked up by the Cardinals, and a year later they got the first overall pick. I think in normal circumstances, and obviously we learned that it would have been a mistake to do this, but I think in normal circumstances, they probably would have given Josh Rosen another year. But because they had the first overall pick and they had the chance to get Kyler Murray, who a lot of people are very high on, they just didn't give him that option. But I think in normal circumstances, they would have. Now, if the Giants are all of a sudden faced with a number 1, number 2 overall pick, and they're not completely sold on him, then yeah, I mean, that could happen. Now, if you're saying we have, let's say, pick 20, like, then there's probably no shot in hell that we get rid of Dart after 1 year. So, because you have to give up so much to get up there, especially in this draft, probably with a lot of the quarterbacks people are very high on. So, like I said, I don't think it's Dart that decides if we get a first round pick and, a first round quarterback next year. I think it's a team overall.
definitely more on the offensive line. Yeah, the whole team. And plus, at that time, you're probably not going to see Dart out there that much. So
No,
unless he does come out because we were that bad, and you could see him the last 4 games. If he's that terrible,
I think it's part of the equation though with him too is that you might see him more if the Giants suck. And that might make them more likely to be okay with moving on from him after 1 year. And like I said, guys, like we said with this during the draft night, even again, not trying to put the negative thoughts out there right off the bat, just trying to keep it real. There's nothing that would stop the Giants from doing that if they're not confident that Jaxson Dart is the guy at the end of this year. He does not have the same kind of leash and rope that a normal rookie quarterback does, especially a first round rookie quarterback. Like they're under the gun right now. And it's not just Dable, it's Shane too. I think I'd be shocked if anything happens to Shane this year, just based on what you're hearing, coming out of the the team here. But Dable's definitely not safe this year, but Shane's also on that hook there, and he's not going to sit there and go, "Oh, okay, well, Dart wasn't good this year. Let's give him 2 or 3 more years." Like he knows he doesn't have it. If he needs to go pull that trigger, he's going to try to pull that trigger. The Giants suck, and he's got a top 3 pick. And he thinks one of those quarterbacks is better than Dart, yeah, he's going to pull that trigger.
be foolish not to.
It would be. Because what's the worst case scenario? You're wrong about Dart, and you get a trade piece. You're wrong about Dart, and you have a really good competition between those two. Like, either way, you got a good quarterback. That's all that matters in the end.
Yeah.
Get a good quarterback in this room. A good young quarterback that you can build around. So, like I said, we'll see what happens. That's a far way away there. But like I said, I just thought it was interesting with Lane Kiffin, specifically on the processing part, because that's what I'm most curious about is what's going to happen. That's the one that scared us the biggest when we were looking at him pre-draft, because you seem to be reading only about half the field.
Yeah,
and
he's going to have a third of the time he did.
Well, that's part of it, though, too, is if he only was given half the time to look at the defense, maybe that's part of why he had a problem reading the other half of the field. So, it's like I said, things we'll have to look at. Things we'll have to see what happens. And I do think still it just reiterates what we've been saying all along. Jaxson Dart needs time. You can't just throw him out there. And Jason's Hatfield reads like Daniel Jones. And like I said, we called him Daniel Jones 2.0 when we were scouting him. I'm really hoping we're wrong in the kid. And again, we've said before about Daniel Jones that he seems like a really nice guy. We root for him, even though he's no longer even a Giant anymore, because of how nice a guy he seems like. But Jaxson Dart also is another guy that's a really nice guy, and we're going to root for him. Not just because of the fact that he's a Giant, because he just seems like a good guy overall. Though, obviously, no matter what, we root for everybody who wears that Giant uniform. That's just par for the course, being a true fan, unlike a lot of people out there who love
fanatic.
They love when people are like, "Oh, look, I was right. I would love to be wrong about this kid. Let him be an All-Pro. Yeah. Let him be an All-Pro. I'll be very happy. I will
eat his socks he has not watched since the day I've scattered them.
All righty, guys. Let's get into the next segment here. Also talking about Jaxson Dart here, about his confidence. We got a little confidence here in Jaxson Dart. So he was talking to Steve Serby of the New York Post, and he said, "I want to be elite. I feel like I've been somebody that's always trying to chase the top. I don't feel like I'm somebody that really ever gets satisfied with just being good and okay." And that's I like that a lot. And that's what I say that about the kid. Like I got reservations about him as far as reading defenses, as far as how he's going to be, as far as some of the mental aspects there. But he says all the right things. And beyond being just a Giant, and I want to root for every Giant. Like, this is like, if I was helping a young quarterback, saying, what would you say in this scenario? This is about wanting where you want to be as a rookie. Yes, I want to be elite. Like, I think that's a great answer. He's not saying I am elite. He's not saying I will be elite. He says, I want to be elite.
Yeah. It also goes to show to his smarts as well. One, he knows what to say to the media, but two, he knows it's a tough time to get to that elite status.
Yep.
And really in this NFL right now, like, you got Mahomes, who's obviously, the most elite, but then it's like, there's a tier down from there, and you're like, he can work his way in there.
Yeah, and like I said, he's got that every opportunity to. I think the Giants they want him to succeed. Obviously, they got him. And I said I think he seems to be ready to do all the right things. It's just, does he have the ability? And again, it's not the
Yeah.
physical ability, it's the mental ability, it's the reading of the field, it's the processing we need to see. Jay says he seems like a really cool kid. He gets along with people of all ages, and people seem to like him. Leadership and moxie. Hope he pans out. Damn straight. I mean, that's part we talk about we talked earlier about Lane Kiffin complaining about the hits he was taking and saying they had to work on that. That's part of what people love about him, probably too, though.
He's willing to go out there for his team.
Again, this doesn't help the Daniel Jones comparisons because Daniel Jones did the same thing. I'm just saying, that he's got that leadership ability, and he says the right things. I like him. Now he also talked about playing in New York. He said, I ain't scared of it. I told the coaches and personnel department when I was on my visit here, I told them this is the place I wanted to be. I want to be on the biggest stage. Now, I would love to find out, did he really say that on the meeting? Like, did he really say, this is where I want to be? I want to be a Giant. Because I'll tell you what, like you want to complete, like, again, I'm going to root for him because he's a Giant, but you want to completely win me over? Like, I love it when you got a player who wants to be here.
Yeah.
Like, he got drafted here. He had no choice but to come here. He wanted to be here potentially. Let's be very frank. The last 10 years, how many players wanted to be Giants?
It's few far in between because we've been on a down spiral the past 10 years.
Not a lot. Not a lot, that's for sure. Factor in the losing, factor in the field issues. Like, not a lot of people have wanted to be a New York Giant. So,
yeah,
I'm very excited.
Year, the coaching.
Yeah, like that's good news to hear. So, like I said, we're definitely be rooting. Besides the fact that he's the Giant, just based on who he is as a person and everything, we'll definitely be rooting for Jaxson Dart big time here. So, let's talk about his main target here, Malik Nabers. And CBS dropping bold predictions here. And I'm not used to this. I'm used to like all the media outlets talking trash about us and not saying nice things. And that's just typically how it goes. And yet, nice things here from CBS here. They did an article on All-Pro predictions. And they said, Malik Nabers, they said there are multiple candidates for this title, including Travis Hunter of the Jaguars, which I thought was a little crazy. Travis Hunter is a rookie. You think he's going to get an All-Pro? Anyway, he says his teammate, Brian Thomas Jr., would be a good candidate because of the quarterback situation, as Trevor Lawrence may more reliably dispatch the football than those throwing to other candidates. However, those two players may eat into each other's target shares, whereas Malik Nabers should once again shoulder the load for the Giants. Despite an unstable quarterback position in the Big Apple and an injury, the rookie out of LSU finished with the second most targets, 170, seventh most receiving yards, 1,204 last season. With another year to see his brand grow and hopefully better overall team performance, Nabers has a chance to be individually recognized. What do you? Do you think that's a little crazy? I
don't think it's that crazy. That's the real. Like, we've always talked about, there's going to be growth in your sophomore year. And just like they just said, like, he was injured last year. He, tied for rookie receptions, almost had the most receiving for yards as a rookie. Like, dude was on pace for a lot of special things and did not have consistent quarterback play. Had terrible offensive line and battled injury. So, going through that concussion, like, it's safe to say that his quarterback room, just not just personnel, I guess personnel you can say, but it's improved tremendously. Even if one gets hurt, you're not like literally just taking DJ and falling off into Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito.
It's bad when you fall off from DJ when he's the pinnacle.
Yeah, you're gonna fall off a little bit from Russell Wilson, but then you got Winston himself, who is not afraid to throw the ball.
I'm not sure a drop off Winston to
it's not. I'm saying it's not that big. It's going to be a little bit, but like, there's better decision making from Russell. That's what you're going to get. But he's also not afraid to throw the rock around. He'll throw it 40 yards downfield, and you can imagine that yak from Nabers. Like, he's on pace to have such a better year, and he could definitely be an All-Pro candidate. Like, I
So
don't think it's that crazy.
I'm going to throw you something crazy. He should have been an All-Pro last year.
I wasn't. Yeah.
I'm going to throw it out there. Here's this. The All-Pro team last year. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's first team. I don't think he beats those three.
No, no.
Second team, this is where I'd put him. Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown.
That's fair.
I've said this. It's funny enough. I was talking to some people about this just 2 days ago. Terry McLaurin is probably the 5th best wide receiver in his own division. And I don't mean disrespect. He's got 4 other really good receivers in this division. But I could not put him ahead of Nabers. I could not put him ahead of CeeDee or AJ Brown or even Smith over in Philly.
Probably over Smith. I think Smith beats off of AJ Brown because
you can make the argument, and he's number 4 for me.
Yeah, you can make that argument. Like, it depends. Like, listen, as a fantasy football player and looking at it, Scary Terry has always been good for you. And now he's got quarterback play. Like, he's improving. It's amazing. He's in the red zone. He's getting the ball in the end zone, which he wasn't doing 2 years prior.
Yeah. I just think if you look at Nabers and Scary Terry, it's night and day, the difference. I think there's no way. I mean, you got 109 catches for 1,200 yards for Nabers. You got 82 catches for just under 1,100 yards for McLaurin. I think the big thing that he gets is they got the touchdown. He had 13 touchdowns last year, and that obviously did that. But I think when you factor in the handicap that Nabers had last year at quarterback, you gotta. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Jay says that I'm not convinced Nabers is better than Brian Thomas Jr. I think he is, personally. I think he was just in a better scenario, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He says, like, WTF would Nabers do with the top 5 quarterback? It'd be insane. Exactly. If you think about it, Terry McLaurin had the same numbers almost, like, less yards, more touchdowns, obviously. And let me be very frank, almost twice the amount of touchdowns. I get that part of it, but I'm just to be fair, I have to put that in there.
The team in itself also had twice as many touchdowns as the Giants.
13, so yeah. But again, imagine what would happen if you put Nabers back with Jaden Daniels again.
Oh, yeah.
Let's not trade him. I'm just saying, though, like, Terry McLaurin did not do that much more than he did the prior year when he got just over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, listen, it's not going to happen, but magically, let's magic ball throws down. Nabers goes to Washington. Scary Terry becomes the number 2 there overnight.
Yeah, 100%.
Who has been the number 1.
By the way, if if McLaurin did Nabers' numbers last year, or any year for that matter, they'd be his career highs for receptions and yards. He did that in his rookie year with Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, and Tommy DeVito, and missing a few.
And Boyer.
And that's what I'm saying. And I don't mean disrespect to Terry McLaurin. Let me be very clear on that. I'm not trying to disrespect the man, because it probably sounds like I am to a certain degree here. He's a consistent 1,000-yard receiver. And there's a lot of people who have been very good careers about being consistent 1,000-yard receivers. Look at Mike Evans.
I was about to say, look at you, Mike Evans.
Yeah, that guy doesn't do 1,500 yards a season. He does consistently 1,000 every single year. In fact, more consistently than anybody in the history of this game. So, there's plenty of very good careers, but it's kind of like the situation when you're comparing the 1 year. Guy Scary Terry is probably to be a top 10 receiver every single year of his career, basically, because he's that kind of guy. But I don't think he's ever going to be a top 5. Nabers is a top 5 right now in my eyes. Obviously, there's some projection in there based on the quarterback play.
Yeah, that's a fair analysis that he will finish this league, most likely, if he's healthy, a top 5 receiver.
Yeah, I said I think it's 100% fair. But
I got to try to get him a little later in fantasy, because there's going to be Scary Terry that's going to get drafted first. Just saying. Fantasy football advice.
But like I said, I think he should have been last year. I think he will be again this year in that conversation. Hopefully he makes it because he flat out deserved it for what he did last year. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Sheriff says, "Good evening, Goofballs." Good evening.
Good evening, good sir.
All right, guys, let's pay the bills real quick. We'll be right back with a few more segments here for you guys.
Ooh.
Thanks for watching. Like the show? Of course you do, or you would have turned it off by now and not be hearing me. There are plenty of ways to support the show. YouTube is the best place to join us, and we offer memberships there with fun benefits like custom emojis and early access to video clips. Of course, there you can also send super chats and stickers to send one-time support payments. The best way to support the show is to buy these drunk idiots beers at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Along with one-time support payments, there are also monthly plans, so you can continue to help kill their livers each month. You can also show people that you are a goofball by visiting our store at 2giantgoofballs-shop.fourthwall.com. We got everything from shirts, hats, phone cases, funny candles, buttons, stickers, and even a 2 Giant Goofballs towel to dry off your goofballs. Of course, you can always support the show for free by simply hitting the like, subscribe, and share button wherever you are watching or listening to this. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps the show tremendously, and quite frankly, the Goofballs suck at marketing and need your help to get the word out. Thank you for being part of the Goofball Army and for taking the time out to support the show.
All righty, guys. And again, if you haven't already hit that like, subscribe, hit that bell, because like I said, we have a lot of exciting guests coming up here shortly as we get in the process of starting next episode on Wednesday, celebrating our 500th episode. And like I said, going into the start of next month, celebrating our 3-year podiversary. And again, we'll have Bobby Skinner on tomorrow as well. So I think you guys will definitely enjoy that.
Damn it, Bobby.
I think most Giants fans are pretty familiar with his content there, but a great guy. And like I said, really good, content creator overall. It's funny. He's one of the guys when you and I started this, we were like, we want to try to do our own version of that. I don't want to mimic per se. We want to get our own version of what, I don't want to name the show he was on at the time, because we're definitely Team Giants Nation, not other team. But
yeah, the team that won't be named.
Yeah, but like I said, really a guy overall. Definitely excited to have him on. And like I said, we have a whole lot more guests that we're talking to right now, lining up and getting going. We have somebody who may be coming on Thursday that I think a lot of you are going to be a big fan of as well. So, Deb says, will he be on tomorrow or Wednesday? No, Wednesday. Did I say tomorrow?
I'm pretty sure you said Wednesday. Or the next episode.
Did I mess up? This show is live.
You may have messed up.
You never know.
Wednesday.
But yeah, no, he'll be on Wednesday with us there. So celebrating, like I said, our officially our 500th episode. So look at this. Jay says 500 episode, got to give out some memberships. So there's another bonus for y'all that are, be part of it there. Jay is always the membership fairy.
Yeah. If you lose one Giant membership, just put it underneath your pillow, and Jay will put a new one there for you.
And we know definitely Jay and Deb will definitely be there. You guys are always there. Always appreciate you guys.
Appreciate the support.
I think Deb's been on for I have to look at how many numbers of episodes we've done on YouTube specifically, but I feel like she's been on for all but maybe 2 or 3 at most. So I think she's officially the OG of our YouTube people here. So definitely, like I said, appreciate you guys for supporting us here for as long as you have. I mean, like I said, we've been doing the YouTube thing now for what? A year and a half? Yes, I think even longer now, right?
Maybe two.
Yeah, I think 2.5 years. We only did a first half a year. It was the first full season of football that we were doing just the audio only, but I think it's about 2.5 years now. We've been doing this on the just about on the YouTube portion there. So, Jay says, "Are you even Twitter anymore?" We're on X for live streaming, but I don't tweet. We don't really tweet per se.
Yeah.
The problem, to be very frank, there's so many different platforms that they all want different things. You can't do them all well. They all want their own version of you, basically. So that's why you get some of the places that have 3 or 4 hosts that'll do some of those kind of shows, and they have this person does this person does that kind of thing. It's just me and Rob. We can only do so much.
Yeah.
That's
it's a me, Rob.
It's terrible marketing. Exactly. We suck at marketing. This is why we say it. We count on you all to help us out there. So, And you guys do. Like I said, I mean, consistently the show grows. I think we're on pace to do very similar to last month on our audio podcast. We broke a record as well. So that means that's consistent growth. So, like I said, definitely appreciate you guys here. But let's stop kissing y'all butts and get back into the actual show here.
Yeah, Drew, get this off your nose.
I know, a little brown off my nose here. So, you just listen.
I got a vacuum for that.
you want the vacuum? There you go. Yeah. There you go.
Oh, I like it with that one.
All hail the New York Giants.
There we go. All right. Let's talk about Sexy Dexy here, because there's been some good news on him. I love this. We're getting so much good news lately for some reason. I'm not sure what's changing here all of a sudden, but all of a sudden the Giants getting positive news here. So we got a couple of bits of news here on Dexter Lawrence. So first off, Bleacher Report had an article ranking NFL's true franchise players for teams to build around before the 2025 season by Christopher Knox. And he talks about Dexter Lawrence, says, while edge rushers tend to generate more attention, top-tier interior defenders can be just as valuable, if not more so. There's a reason why teams keep investing heavily in defensive tackles, hoping to uncover the league's next Aaron Donald. While no one has quite taken the mantle since Donald retired last offseason, a few young defenders have entered the spotlight. Players like Jalen Carter and Kobe Turner are ascending stars who should be defensive centerpieces for years to come. But New York Giants standout, Dexter Lawrence, specifically mentioned, because he's the guy.
He's the dude.
The best defensive tackle in all of football. Like, you got to say it. Again, if you don't think it, I got a question. Again, I get the one guy is Chris Jones. But he was listed as number 9. He says Lawrence has become the heart of the New York Giants defense. It is coming off a 9-sack season and at his 3rd Pro Bowl campaign. Pro Football Focus graded him 2nd among 219 interior defenders for the 2024 season. He says, while the Giants haven't experienced a lot of success recently, they did find a true franchise player when they drafted Lawrence with the 17th overall pick in 2019. Like I said, I love that Dexter Lawrence is finally getting the respect he deserves nationally, because I feel like that's something that's been missing. Like, Giants fans, we kind of figured it out in 2022 when he really broke out, but he hasn't really been getting it nationally until this year, I feel like.
Yeah.
I think the sack number definitely helped him this year. People love pretty sacks.
Big old beautiful sacks.
That's what they just for some reason, that's what happens. But, you know.
I mean, also credit to Shane to, getting that contract done before he broke out in a national stage.
Can you imagine signing him now? What did Chris Jones get? It'd probably be something similar to what he got, because I know Chris Jones got a pretty decent, sizable contract there as well. Now, beyond Bleacher Report, PFF also ranked their top 50 players in the NFL. We're not used to having a top 50 player. We got one.
Yeah.
Ranked number 14th overall, Dexter Lawrence. They said Lawrence has emerged as one of the NFL's most dominant defensive players over the past 3 seasons. 89.9 PFF grade in 2024, ranked 3rd amongst defensive tackles, trailing only Chris Jones and Cameron Hayward. He leads all interior defenders with a 93.3 PFF grade since 2022, and he sits 2nd to Jones in PFF WAR. Lawrence's versatility sets him apart. He's the only defensive tackle with 90-plus grades in both pass rushing, and run defense over that span. Like I said, point blank, we cannot give this man enough respect for what he's done. Again, on a very, very bad. Again, we got the edge rushers, yes, but if you look at the other 3, in the 3-4, the rest of those 3s, who's he played against the last couple of years? Well, who played alongside the last couple of years? Nacho? DJ Davis?
Listen, every time they said they're going to put Nacho in the field, Sexy Dex just got a little more hungry for a sack.
Yeah, like, it's just because he doesn't have to do it.
Well, he just thought they were getting nachos and cheese.
Oh, that's true. So nachos and cheese are pretty good. You enjoy that. A little bit of salsa mixed in. I'm getting hungry now. Maybe avocado.
You're right.
Anyway. Like I said, it's I like that he's getting the respect, and I hope that continues. And I hope we also start playing better because point blank, I'm going to say it this way because it's the truth, but I kind of hate to say it as a Giant fan. We're wasting his prime. Point blank, wasting his prime. Like, imagine having the 14th best player in the entire NFL. According to PFF, that's what they're saying now. Not me. Well, I agree. Imagine having the 14th best one and not making the playoffs in back-to-back years. Barely making the playoffs the year before. Not making the playoffs multiple years before that.
Yeah.
That's wasting his prime. And that's a damn shame. Damn shame. And you're talking probably the best defensive tackle to ever play for the New York Giants. Wasting his prime. Like, that's a serious discussion I think we can start having now at this point because he's been good for a few years. Like, he very well could be the best defensive tackle to ever put on a Giants uniform. That's 100 years. Like I said, it's a shame.
The 200th anniversary of the New York Giants. Sexy X we talked about. Remember the 100th season?
They won't even know who he was in 100 years. Let's be honest. It's like we learned about somebody who played in the 40s. We're like, who? What?
Yeah.
What was he good at? Is he really good? We don't know. All right. Let's talk about some injury news here. So first off, we got to talk about Jon Runyan Jr. We talked about him and how he got hurt for the very first time in his entire career last year, hurt his ankle, possibly doing the position you see in the thumbnail there because he does not look comfortable in that face whatsoever. He's either constipated or dealing with the ankle injury at that point. But he revealed on the Giants Huddle podcast about surgery. He said, yeah, had surgery back in mid-December, stayed up here the whole offseason. We have a great training staff, great doctors that helped me along the way. That's the first time I've heard about an actual surgery. Now, we all knew, again, he had the ankle injury. We all knew he was coming back from it. But we hadn't heard of any kind of specific on the surgery yet. So that's kind of interesting because we talked about it. Like, he wasn't himself last year. Like, we expected a really, really good pass defender and a really bad run blocker because that's what he was in Green Bay. And he just wasn't what we expected at all in that first year. You got to wonder, how bad was that ankle? How long was it actually hurting him? Because we can go back to the Saints game, and that's where he got, the claim of when he actually hurt his ankle. But it happens all the time. That people get hurt. They re-aggravate it to make it worse during a game, and that's when that game gets the credit for it. It's kind of like, the movie The Program. Are you hurt or are you injured? You can play hurt. You can't play injured. You probably heard it before that game, and that's when he got himself injured. Probably trying to play through, which if that's the case, give him kudos to that, trying to play through an injury during a ridiculously useless season, basically. Yeah, he gets some tough points.
He definitely gets some brownie points for toughness.
Yeah, that's, like I said, that's well deserved. So, like I said, hopefully he's healthy. I think he doesn't probably need any additional, material there to keep him going there. But let's be honest, this is an important year for him because if he doesn't play good this year, he probably won't get the last year of that contract. I think he's got one more to go, if I remember correctly. And it's going to be hard coming off 2 bad years. Yeah, 3 years, $30 million. He's got one more year to go. And the Giants would save over $9.25 million, by the way, if we got rid of him at the offseason. So yeah, he's gonna have to really step up if he wants to make that money next year. He's got $11.75 million cap hit next year. We only have a $2.5 million dead cap hit if we cut him. It's a very important year for Runyan. And I think he'll be better because I do think the injury probably was messing with him. But I just don't think that it was a good contract to begin with, guys, if I'm being honest about it. I think we overpaid for him. And we even saw during Hard Knocks, they overpaid for him to get him not to go to New York. The Jets were going to sign him. and we just upped the money. Same as we did with Illuminor. That worked out very well. Illuminor is a great value contract, even based on what he does. But we spent a lot of money on Runyon, and like I said, he's got to have to prove it this year. He's worth it if he wants that third year, and I'm just not sure he is. $9.25 million. That's a lot of money to save. Like, you could sign a better guard potentially even for that money. Like, not to be rude about it, but like, that's the truth of the matter. Like, it's a big contract. You know, it was one of the bigger contracts given to guards that offseason, and we did it out of desperation. And that typically doesn't work out very well for you.
No.
So, you know, we'll see what happens there. But, you know, again, we wish him speedy recovery overall. The rest is he's getting back into the field and getting it back and going. And hopefully we have a great year. I'd love to sit here at the end of the year and say we have to keep this guy. You know, I would love to sit there and say we have to keep this guy, because that means he had a great year. Now, Jay says, guard contracts are crazy. $10 million isn't much, to be honest. It is if you're not playing well. And you also got to keep in mind, there's a big difference between $10 million in your third year and your first year of a new contract, because his cap number was only $6.5 million the first year. That's how we were paying him his cap last year. The first year is always down. So that's the difference. And I get $10 million isn't like, you know, $20 million like some of these guys are getting there, you know, but it's still a decent sized contract for a guy who doesn't run block very well and is now coming off of an injury. But like I said, hopefully we have all the reason in the world to want to keep him through year 3, because we have enough holes in this offensive line. We don't need another one. There's been so many holes in this offensive line.
There's so many holes.
Ones that they leave open for pass rushers.
As I say, that hole gets penetrated every time.
Whoa. Anyway, let's get on to the next topic with that one. We got one more. We got to talk about an ex-Giant that is officially retiring. So we talked about Ellerson Smith last week there, as Jay brought it up in the comments there. Richie James also calling it quits now too as well. So listen, I think he's going to have, I want to say like a big spot per se, but he's that guy that we're going to remember him years down the road just because of the year he played with us. You know, he was that guy in 2022 that kind of popped up out of nowhere and became a decent target for the Giants when no one expected anything from him. Like, literally, he played 3 years in San Francisco, had 689 yards in those 3 years. Didn't play a single game in 21. Comes to the Giants, career high 57 catches, 569 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Now, much of that, let's be very frank, is the fact that we had no wide receivers whatsoever, especially at the beginning of the year. And for whatever reason, the Giants were determined not to use Darius Slayton. I'm not sure still what happened there.
Yeah,
but you still had, I mean, if you think about the receivers we had that year, guys, it was Darius Slayton, Richie James, and Isaiah Hodgins for the last half. That's the trio. Let this also reiterate how much better our wide receiver room has gotten with Malik Nabers, Darius Slayton, and Wan'Dale Robinson, by the way, because that's a huge upgrade from just a couple of years ago. He did play in 23 in Kansas City, had just 10 catches for 114 yards. He did announce his retirement on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now. He said, "It took time, but I have come to realize I'm retired from the NFL. 7th round out of MTSU. I feel like I was just a ball player to last that long. Unfortunately, my knee never healed properly. I was playing hurt since 22. Oh, well, I gave everything I got to the game of football." Now, the one thing I do hate to see is the 22 part in that. Because, again, we talked about, what year do you play with us?
22.
Yeah. So, not going to help, that's for sure, the Giants' history overall, because it was a knee injury that he had in 2022. Now, I don't know if he got that at MetLife Stadium. I don't have that recollection. I did look for it there. But yeah, it's like I said, it's a shame. I like the kid. I thought he was a fun guy overall when he was in the locker room in 22. You saw good interviews with him. He seemed like a nice person overall. But 29 years old, he's officially retired. Gets to retire with some money, obviously. You know, that's the one thing I can't feel too bad for these kids on. You got to play professional sports. You got a little bit of money. You know, and let's see. In his career, he made $4.9 million, so just shy of $5 million. So we're not going to shed a lot of tears for him, but still, it sucks to be done at 9.
Yeah, especially when, he's not going to break anyone's bank if you sign him up on a practice squad. Like, but he could have a long career if he was healthy, a longer career, not maybe the longest, but he was serviceable.
Yeah, Jason, I liked Richie James, something special, but he can get it done and do some things. And they says he had a knee injury from the Niners. Yeah, the knee injury he had with the Niners actually is why he didn't play in 21 at all before the Giants signed him. I don't know if it was the same knee or not that he hurt in 22 with the Giants.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's just the Giants thing, though, is knee injuries thanks to the turf at MetLife Stadium. Now, keep in mind, 22 was the old turf, not this new turf we're using now that has actually cut down on some of the knee injuries, though I still think we should get grass. So he was, towards the end of that devious turf we had for years there at the new MetLife Stadium here since it opened up. I gotta wonder though, will we always remember him for the Seattle game?
Probably.
The two fumbles that he had on punt returns,
which put Adoree Jackson back there.
Yeah, which caused Adoree Jackson to get injured as well. It's the circle of injuries.
Yeah.
And
it tears everyone's knee up.
I feel like that's part of his legacy with the Giants because we all remember that game. We all remember it was him with those 2 fumbles. But again, he was the guy that we kind of put back there that wasn't even prepared to be a punt returner necessarily. Like just kind of the way it went because we didn't have good punt returners. Hence why Adoree Jackson eventually had to go out and do it too. So, like I said, we wish him nothing but the best. Though once a Giant, always a Giant. He'll definitely, even though 1 year only, he definitely falls in that category for me. So,
yeah.
All righty. Well,
wait a minute, Drew. I think there's a bit of news that you did forget about. But today, it's about Thibodeau and a little bit of Luminor going on at Twitter.
Go and do tell because I didn't. Listen. I'm not.
So first of all, this puts some context. Thibodeau puts up earlier today. It might have been late last night that he's doing some wrestling. Double singles to get better at takedowns. So this way he could, be better sack artist. So he puts this thing out on Instagram, and I think at Facebook too. It goes around social media. And he puts on there as he's doing his drills with his coach. I'm not sure which where he's training at right now. I saw somewhere in New England possibly, but he's in the video saying, I didn't finish. I had 4 or 5 sacks that were half sacks last year. That is because I couldn't finish the sack myself. He goes, I've missed a lot. I missed some sacks. So I'm here to finish. Get to the top of the situation. You come out better. And you just see him shooting some doubles, some singles. And he goes back and forth. So he's still going to improve. But yeah, Luminor being a troll, which is fantastic. Because he's not a wrestler. He plays football. But some of those guys, that's what they go back and forth in high school. It was a common thing where Drew and I went to school. A lot of line guys.
Football and wrestled.
Luminor goes on, slow ass seagull legs. I'm going to ankle pick this man and pin him in the first period, which caused him to go back, shut your mouth, fat ass or fat boy.
Oh my God. The chance to
listen,
now,
you're just not around a button.
What's crazy is you do realize that when they canceled the practice early was about a month ago. It's because Thibodeau really threw a punch at Luminor.
Oh, yes.
So that also adds some intrigue into that as well, that fun part there. But yeah, like I said, it's a little craziness, but this is what happens in the off season.
Yeah.
Things get said, things get done. People are bored.
I want to say kudos to Luminor. Yeah, he was working on singles and singles and doubles, single cut doubles. So, we're trying to tackle and not going to fit on this. You kind of have to, grab around the waist, grab around the knees, ankles, go for a finish. So, working with a wrestling team, it looks like a good organization.
Maybe a little cross-faced chicken wing.
Yeah. Also, he sacks him and puts him in a bow and arrow cradle. Like, bro, you're done.
You're poor.
Cross-faced cradle with the mask.
I like how you're using actual terms, and I'm usually WWF, not even WWE. I'm going WWF style on this.
RKO out of nowhere.
Jay's got the Boston Crab.
The Walls of Jericho.
The Tombstone. The Pile Driver.
Like real water boy stuff.
Water sucks.
No.
Guys, that's going to call it a night here for us. Again, we'll be back again Wednesday. Like I said, our 500th episode. Be there. Be
500.
And special guest Bobby Skinner, who will be on with us as well. Like I said, we're definitely looking forward. And I think that'd be our third time with Bobby. So we've had twice on our show. This will be and once on his show. So always good to have, like I said, some time with him there. He's a funny guy. Again, we'll be back there 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, that's live on our preferred platform, YouTube, along with Facebook, Twitter /X, Twitch, and of course Rob's favorite. And of course, as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all the big ones there. You guys, if you haven't already, again, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that bell, a thumbs up on YouTube. All that stuff really does help spread the word there. We'll see you guys again on Wednesday. Appreciate you guys as always. And as always, Giant fans,
Go J-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
please, I'm begging